Good afternoon, this is Jeff with Sewer Tech Northwest. Today we're at property address 111 South Grant Street here in Newburgh. We're located down in the crawl space. We're at the rear foundation wall here at the rearmost part of the line, going through 4-inch ABS cleanout. It does transition over to cast iron shortly upon access. We're going to check the overall condition and serviceability of the sanitary sewer line. Currently have water running up ahead. Here we go. And I'm going to keep the camera moving fairly quickly here to get through all the twists and the turns of the crawl space. When we reel back in, though, we'll be going a bit slower. Alright, it's transitioning here over to, looks like clay pipe, and as best I can tell here, it looks like it's not really making much of a diameter change. It might, well, maybe it is 6-inch. We'll call it 6-inch. It's kind of hard to tell. We do have some roots penetrating the top of the line there. There's dirt coming into the pipe at the top there. We're about going right underneath it here currently at 32 feet. And this is just outside the foundation of the house. More roots here at about 34 feet roughly. Now this joint right here we stopped at, looks like we have some dirt that's coming through here. This also is a compromised joint. Got more roots coming in up here at about 67 feet. Now we lost our water flow there for a second. I'm not sure exactly why, but it just started to come trickling through here finally. There might be something blocking up the line. It might also be escaping the pipe. But we are now in PVC pipe here. Now, unfortunately, due to this offset joint here, we're out far enough now and have gone through so many turns, I've lost most of my leverage or pushing power on this thing. The camera, you can see here, is just running right into that joint. And it's the same height as my camera. It's about an inch offset there, and this is as far as we're going to be able to go, unfortunately. I'm going to go locate, see where we're at here currently. I'm still not seeing much in the way of this water moving. Even when it's standing, we should still see movement here, or that filling up to the point where it overwhelms the joint and then flows over the top of it. It would appear that the water is escaping somewhere in the line. So we're just not getting it. I have two sinks running. I have a kitchen sink and a bathroom sink running, and which is a fair amount of water flow going down line. And if I park it right here, you can watch that water, and it's really not moving at all. You should see some type of flow, one direction or another. Anyway, I'm going to put a marking right here, a white X marking, and I'll mention how far we are, or how close we are to the street here in just a moment. Well, we got incredibly lucky here, and we are right at the curb. Now, in general, in Newburgh, once you hit the right-of-way, which is usually about 5 feet prior to the curb, these older properties, it might be a little bit different, but this should be basically where the homeowner and city responsibility change hands, or where the homeowner changes hands to city responsibility. Pretty much everything beyond that, if you could go even past that joint, you'd be into the street. We're literally like right at the curb. Right next to the, there's a telephone pole right in front of the, just to the left of the driveway. So the water level has gone down there. I can tell that for sure, but see if I can get back out here again. At no point when we were sitting there, prior to me going to locate, was the water overwhelming that joint and going over the top of it. It just was sitting right at the joint, and that was about it. So it looks like the water is escaping the line there. Otherwise, you'd get flow that would eventually overwhelm the joint there due to the offset and just flow over the top of it. But that wasn't happening earlier with two sinks running. So as best I can tell, it does appear that the line is losing water somewhere. That's not always very easy to find, unless we can see a big gaping joint, and sometimes it can slowly seep out through multiple joints. Now, there was a spot repair done there at some point. Got just kind of a random section of PVC pipe in the middle there. Now, I'm going to put another marking here. I'm going to try and do markings about every 10, 15 feet, roughly. Might be every 20 feet. It's a very tricky house. You got to go in and out of the crawl space every time we locate here, so I'll make sure there's plenty of paint down on the ground. But we're only 2 feet 6 inches deep at the curb. Very, very shallow line. Usually by the curb, you're closer to 5, 6, 7 feet deep. So it's relatively easy to get to. As far as grade goes, you'd have to consult a repair guy about grading. Depth that shallow makes me a little nervous, but it's really hard to say. It looks like water's escaping the line. It's really hard to gauge whether you've got bellies in the pipe or not. As far as I can tell, there's not a whole lot of that going on. But anyway, we're 2 feet 6 inches deep at the curb. All right, we are right at where the sidewalk starts at, where the front yard meets the sidewalk. Put about 4 white dots on the ground showing the direction the pipe's running, and we're about 2 feet 5 inches deep there. We've got roots at 67 feet as well as about 64 feet here. We've got roots throughout the whole line from start to finish. And the age of this pipe, even if there weren't what appears to be water escaping the line, the fact that there's roots throughout the whole line or from start to finish, this is not a line that's new enough that you'd want to do spot repairs on it. This line is ready to be updated. It would be a gigantic waste of money to be doing spot repairs. Now we've got another compromised joint here. It looks like there's some small root hairs in and amongst that, but we've got dirt coming through the joint there at 58 feet. All right, we're going to do our marking here. And we're skirting right up along the edge of where the yard meets the little driveway to the right of the house. And we're about 2 feet 10 inches deep there. Looks like we got more roots coming through here at about 44 feet. Now at this point, they're everywhere throughout the line. There's a lot of different issues going on here. Now there's a whole bunch of sticker bushes right up at the front corner of the house. I'm probably not going to be able to locate every bit of this thing. but I'll get pretty darn close. More roots there right off the bat. And yeah, this is 6-inch pipe for sure. And a very large amount of dirt and stuff coming through right here. I'm going to push it out right here. We're a few feet past the transition from the cast iron pipe. All the ABS and cast iron, we'll get that a look over, but I do believe is in good shape. We haven't seen that stuff yet on the way out, but I more than likely are just gonna have to do the repair from the cast iron transition out to the street. All right, the line actually does not come out. There's a little kind of notch in the front right corner of the house. It does not come out within that little corner there. It comes out kind of the right side of the home, essentially. So I've got a white T marking right about here. It's going to be off by just slightly, probably. I pasted off about 3 feet from that marking there, so it should be pretty darn close, or within about 6 inches. But anyway, there's a white T marking here, and then from this point out till it hits the street, there's a bunch of white dots with depths written next to them. I'm getting basically the exact same depth across the entire spot here. It's 2 feet 6 inches deep here as well. Or at least it was right, at about 34, 35 feet where I did that locate there just a second ago. So very, very shallow depth, and I'm not seeing a whole lot of gradation taking place. So anyway, have to get a repair guy on that just to check everything out. I'm going to try and do one more marking right here. Alrighty, we are just about 1.5 feet or so out from the foundation of the house here. Again, there's that little notch I'm referring to when you see the front of the house. You know what I'm talking about. It's not in that notch. It comes out the rightmost portion of the house. There's a little front right corner there. And I'm not talking about the front right corner of the deck, but the actual house itself. The only reason I say that is we're having a ton of rain right now, and there's a very good chance my paint markings are going to get washed away. And we're only at about 1.10 feet to 2 feet deep here. Just to give you an idea, basically all of this is underneath grass, except for a little bit under the sidewalk and stuff, at least on property here, that I can get to. And it runs almost directly underneath the power lines all the way back until the last little few feet there where it turns and heads back into the home, as a reference. But very shallow. It doesn't even look like it's even 2 feet deep outside where the cast iron transition is. And by the time you hit the curb, we're about 2 feet 6 inches deep. Very shallow all the way around. Now we're coming back through the crawl at this point here. Let me go ahead and reel the camera on out. Due to the significant amount of damage to the pipe, the fact that it looks like water is escaping the line based on the water flow cutting out, not flowing past that 76-foot point. We have root intrusions, many of them. There's probably 6 or 7 at least that I found there. I think 1 or 2 compromised joints that are just letting dirt come into the pipe. So recommend a full line replacement from the cast iron transition all the way out to at least the street curb. I would contact the city just to verify where responsibility starts and stops. I've done hundreds and hundreds of these out in Newburgh, and in general, once you're at the sidewalk, usually it's the city's responsibility, if nothing else at the curb. We can't get past the curb. Again, that should be the city's problem out there in the street area. That's not the worst thing in the world, but you may want to get the city involved in this one. If you're going to have to be digging out there, it would be an ideal time to do a full replacement for the street portion and the property portion of it, but kind of up to the city on that one. Highly recommend a rescope after the repair is done. A lot of problems happen at the time of installation, bellies, all kinds of different things. You want to make sure you rescope it before letting the repair guys run off. From 30 feet to 76 feet. That was the section there I recommend replacing. The rest of it, the cast iron, showing a little bit of age, but all the joints there are looking tight between the cast iron and the ABS pipe. It's flowing nicely. There's no standing water issues or anything like that. So at some point you'll want to update the cast iron pipe, but it looks like it's still doing its job in pretty good shape. The clay pipe, however, is at the end of its lifespan.